From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. We start this afternoon on the fire watch as the Lolo Creek fire continues to burn near Lolo Pass. This weekend, that fire led to evacuation warnings. The fire is burning northwest of the visitor center and about a mile west of Highway 12. The Missoula County Sheriff's Office issued evacuation warnings Saturday night, extending from the Idaho border to Lolo Hot Springs. And anyone traveling along Highway 12 shouldn't stop. Residents and visitors should be ready to leave immediately if an evacuation order is issued. And the West Lolo complex of fires burning in Mineral and Sanders County is estimated over 1,000 acres now. These fires are visible from the communities of St. Regis, Thompson Falls, Superior, and Plains, and travel routes in between. The fires are not threatening structures at this time, but there are some trail closures around those fires. Some Musselshell County residents are now under evacuation orders as the 3 wildfires in the area continue to grow. Anyone east of Queens Point Road, south of Harvey Road, west of Melstone Custer Road, and north of Alkali Creek Road are told to leave their homes. The MY Complex fire is now more than 24,000 acres in size. It's made up of the Peterson fire south of Melstone, the Western Road fire east of Roundup, and the Musselshell Trail fire northwest of Custer. Officials say the Peterson fire is expected to move south due to extreme drought, and crews stayed in that area overnight monitoring its growth. On the Rock Creek fire north of Wolf Creek and west of Craig is now burned an estimated 3,400 acres. The fire started along Highway 287 and spread toward Interstate 15 after broken machinery started those flames. Containment, though, is now at about 80%. Checking all of those fires around our state, of course, is our Miller Robson, and he is just making sure that everything is kind of staying where it is weather-wise. What are we looking at for today?
Well, we are dealing with the smoke out there from the wildfires. We take a look here. This is what our latest outlook looks. You can see the green there is light. You're seeing some brown on there. That's a mixture of the little light, moderate to heavy, depending on where you may be. You know, we have the wildfires coming in from Musselshell that's blowing down into Billings, Bozeman, Great Falls, Missoula, down there to Cody. You're seeing the smoke coming in from the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to continue to be an issue over the course of the next few days. But we do have some winds that will start to shift, may give us a bit of a break later today, possibly tomorrow. Now, we do have a cold front or a blast of energy that's going to come through that may push it further into the state. We'll take a look at that with the main forecast coming up here in just a bit.
Right, Miller, thanks so much for that. Well, Pfizer says a third coronavirus booster shot may be needed, but health officials remain unconvinced. As Natalie Brand reports, this comes as the Delta variant is spreading quickly in the United States.
Pfizer is meeting with U.S. health officials today as it prepares to seek an emergency use authorization for a COVID-19 booster shot.
I think we need to start the process here in the United States, and that's really what Pfizer, the company I'm on the board of, is trying to do. We're doing these studies. We're going to be submitting that information to the Food and Drug Administration, asking for authorization to provide a third booster should it be needed.
They have study and data that we will go over with them to determine if there's anything there that we need to use.
Dr. Anthony Fauci reiterated the current CDC recommendation, saying that fully vaccinated Americans do not need a third booster shot at this time. The concern remains for those who are not yet fully vaccinated, as the number of new coronavirus cases is once again on the rise in the U.S. Over the past week, new cases are up by 66%, and infection rates are rising in more than 36 states. More than half of all new cases are from the Delta variant, which is even more transmissible than the original strain.
We're concerned about those regions of the country, those states, those areas, those cities in which the level of vaccination is really quite low, hovering around 30% or so.
Researchers at Georgetown University found 5 under-vaccinated regions, which they say could lead to new virus mutations capable of defeating current vaccines, putting the entire nation at risk. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
There are 25 million people in the U.S. who have received only one shot, and 140 million are unvaccinated. It seems Yellowstone County lagging behind the nation in terms of vaccinations. Just 45% of the population is fully immunized, compared to 60% in Missoula County and 54% in Gallatin County. Well, the Yellowstone County Health Officer John Felton has 3 categories for Yellowstone County residents: those eager to get their shot, the hesitant, and the resistant. He says the last group has more members than he predicted when the shots were first rolled out.
We thought we would continue to see some more increase in vaccine as the hesitant folks work through, but really there's a lot of very resistant folks out there.
Of vaccines administered in Yellowstone County has trended downward for weeks. President Joe Biden wants to make sure Americans won't be overcharged to buy things. The White House says the president will sign an executive order to address supply chain issues caused by the pandemic. The order will direct the Federal Maritime Commission to crack down on unreasonable fees in the ocean shipping industry. The Surface Transportation Board will need to protect against inflated rates along rail shipping routes, and the White House says the executive order will save American businesses money on shipping costs and lower prices for American consumers. It's not known when the president will sign that order. People are rushing to buy homes, but of course, there aren't enough workers to build them. The construction industry is already short 430,000 workers this year, and it's expected the industry will need 1 million more workers over the next 2 years just to keep up with demand. That's because more than 1 million workers left the construction industry during the pandemic. Only about 80% of the workforce returned. That's according to the Labor Department. We do have more ahead on today's New News. As we deal with fire season and unprecedented heat here in Montana, we are checking in on the rest of the country. But first, Miller is back up with a look at that statewide weather forecast.